Hello guys and welcome to another video. My name's Mark, I'm an entrepreneur and property investor. Happy Friday to everybody out there. Today we're going to be talking about a property deal that I've just spoken to somebody about that didn't quite go their way, and I wanted to talk about when things seem too good to be true. In property, sometimes they might be, and it's really important to understand that. I think quite often people can dress things up, make it look very, very good, and the outcome might completely differ from what's being dressed up in front of you. So guys, today's video we're going to look at a real life example and exactly what happened and exactly the conversations I've had with this chap throughout the process, and I'm going to be able to give you my 2 pennies worth and why I personally wouldn't have done this deal in the first instance, but also how I think he could have avoided some of the mistakes that happened so you can learn the lessons and hopefully we can save you tens of thousands of pounds, if not more. So guys, before we get into the video, if you give it a big like, it helps me out with the algorithm and I massively appreciate everybody who does that. And if you haven't already subscribed, why not consider subscribing? I give away all this content completely free of charge, and I always will, and I want to do as much as I possibly can to guide you and help you on your journey. Myself, I've got 13 properties. I'm on to number 14 at the moment, as my regular viewers know, but today's video is all about how you can avoid big mistakes like this that could end up costing you tens of thousands of pounds. So some of my seasoned chaps that are watching this and seasoned investors will be able to spot some of the problems straight away when we start talking about this deal. It's also very easy to get carried away and think that this looks like the deal of the century. So I've included a location. It was up in Sheffield, and basically what was pitched was a 5-bedroom HMO conversion onto a commercial valuation at the end where you'd get all of your money back out. And as we know, doubling your money or getting all of your money back out is an absolute dream in property investing. So the holy grail, the unicorn, is presented in front of you. You've only got to pay a £4,000 sourcer fee and suddenly you can get £82,500 worth of profit. It sounds like it could be too good to be true. It also could be the deal of the century, and this is how sourcers sometimes can get people into a lot of trouble. So the purchase price was £100,000 and that required a £25,000 deposit. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep track of the costs in this tally here of what was presented to the chap, and we're going to keep track of what the overall costs. So this is the out of bank account because some of it will be leveraged and some of it will obviously be actual costs such as bridging fees. So we'll look at that as we go along. So 100k purchase price, £25,000 deposit, a £45,000 reno, all of which needs to be paid for by the person, so it's $45,000. Bridging fees were $7,000 on the deal because it was uninhabitable. There was no stamp duty because it was uninhabitable. Revaluation fees $1,500, sourcer fee $4,000. All of that looks fairly reasonable, apart from, to me, the renovation. A 5-bedroom HMO conversion, all the licensing, everything to go with it for $45,000. It looks cheap to me. But £82,500 in. The rent, that was going to be £2,300 a month, and the profit on that would be about £1,100 a month. Now that looked to me absolutely perfect. It's about the right rents for Sheffield. It's about the right return on investment. I would expect a little bit more profit out of it, but it's in the right sort of region, and we're looking at a 16% return on investment as your worst case. So straight away, that looks quite attractive. As a worst case scenario, you're going to get 16% on your money. Now this is the kicker, and this is the bit that really sells this deal into people. The new valuation is going to be $210,000. That means the new mortgage will be $157,500. The old bridging loan, obviously $75,000 because we had a purchase price of $100 and a £25,000 deposit. So the old bridging loan was $75,000, which meant that you were able to release $82,500. Now, was it coincidental that the amount of money you had to put in, $82,500, was exactly the amount you were going to release? Now, I don't know, but this is exactly what was presented to him. And on paper, if that's all true, that looks like a fantastic deal. Now, there are a few alarm bells, as I said, and some of my seasoned investors are probably looking at this going, this 45k mark, that sounds light. To do a 5-bedroom, all-en-suite, HMO, get all your furniture in it, get everything done, that feels light for that, and it is. It's very light. So I would be expecting that, and I said this to the chap at the time, I think that's more like 60 to 70, but we'll see, maybe 45, maybe they've got an agreed quote, it's 45,000. And I said the other big risk that I can see in this is your end valuation. You know, that you run the risk of overspending on a property. Let's say, for example, you do spend 160, you're overspending on a 3-bedroom house in Sheffield, maybe you're making it a 5-bedroom ensuite, but you're not adding that much value on a bricks and mortar basis. You're very reliant on getting this commercial valuation, and if you don't, for any reason, you're going to really struggle to get a valuation of even close to what you spent. So I said, for me, there's 2 significant risks here. here. Number one, the reno price, and number two, the new valuation. I think that sounds very, very rich, and when I started doing comparables in the area, it looked very, very rich. And we're going back about 6-12 months at this point, because obviously this has now all happened, but back then, I think it was about November or October 2020 that the deal was actually being done. Prices have obviously moved on since then. Today in September 2021, trying to remember my dates, I will go through exactly how everything has come out. So, bearing in mind, this looks like a fantastic deal. It is the holy grail. It is the unicorn. It's what everybody's looking for. A no money left in deal, an £82,500 profit in a little over a few months. It sounds good, right? Let's see what happened. So this is what actually happened, and I've written it all up as you can see. So the purchase price was 100,000, absolutely. That's £25,000 deposit. Now the renovation, as we thought, or as I thought, came in more. Now, incidentally, this £45,000 quote here was plus VAT plus furniture. They hadn't actually nailed down exactly what was going to be done for the money, and that is a rookie error. The actual renovation cost came in eventually at 60,000 plus VAT, which is 72,000. That's a huge disparity. It's a big eat into the profit margin on this deal. The bridging fees were accurate, about 7,000. The revaluation fees, about 2,000 according to the chap. A little bit more than the 1.5 that was on the original sheet. Nothing to write home about. And the fee, obviously, for the saucer was 4,000. So suddenly he's in for 110,000 rather than 82.5. Now that's a huge difference. Now the rent was right, the profit's right. Oh, I put in 1,000. It was about 1,100, sorry. The rent was right, the profit was right, the overall ROI was about 12% based on what he put in. Now 12% on a HMO where you've taken on all of that risk and all of that work is pretty poor. So the revaluation really, really needed to come in strong to make this deal look like it was even palatable at this point. Remember, it's taken 12 months to do it. He's swallowed up £110,000. The opportunity cost is he could have bought about £400,000 worth of property that was already done up, and that £400,000 worth of property would have moved on in the market as well as generating rent immediately from purchasing. So there was a big opportunity cost here. Now the new value, unfortunately, he didn't get a commercial valuation. So the new value came in on a bricks and mortar basis of £140,000. Incredibly disappointing compared to the £210,000 that was estimated. The new mortgage, of course, is then only 75% of that, which is £105,000. Once you paid off the old bridge, instead of getting £82,500 back, you only get 30. Now suddenly, with this big overspend on the renovation and this reduction in the new value, you've left £80,000 in this deal, and you've only got 16% return on investment. There is so much work on here. There is so much effort. There is so much risk. The reward needed to be stronger. But this is what we say about risk and reward. They come hand in hand. And it's incredibly important that when you're looking at a deal like this, that you understand if you're looking at an infinite return on investment, there must be quite a lot of risk. There is no way that you can just double your money over and over again, infinite number of times, because if you start with £100,000, within 10 years, you've got all the money in the world. Any sane person would know that that just can't be possible. But it's incredibly easy to be tempted in with something that looks like the unicorn, like it's this deal that everybody's searching for, an all money out deal. The reality is you can get burnt incredibly hard. Now my friend on this, I know he can afford to leave the money in, and he's using this as a lesson. The bit that absolutely terrifies me is when the people get involved in deals like this and they're doing joint ventures and perhaps they don't have the capital, and maybe they're on 20, 30, 40,000 £1,000 a year in a salary, and making this sort of shortfall up is just unrealistic or impossible for them. So it really terrifies me that people get involved in deals like this that are so big and so vast in areas of the country where property values are quite depressed in comparison. I mean, if you've done this in London or somewhere else, it's so much more forgiving because the amount of value that you create by adding square footage, by doing certain things, is so vast. But up in Sheffield or in some of these poorer towns and cities where property prices are far more depressed, it's quite hard to add a significant amount of value on a bricks and mortar basis when you're spending that sort of money, when you're spending 72,000. It's almost 3/4 of the purchase price. It's a huge amount to be spending. And I would want to be adding at least £150,000 worth of value if I was spending 72,000. Somewhere in that region, around 2 for 1, I'm very happy with, because it still carries risk and I need to make sure I get a return for the capital I employ. But guys, look at that deal. Would you have been been pulled in? Would you have gone away and done something like this? And I'm sure some of my seasoned investors, you can put in the comments down below the deals that haven't gone your way. I think it's an incredibly important lesson. I hope you all take it on board. I hope it saves you tens of thousands of pounds. And guys, I'll see you on the next video. Cheers, guys.